No, I'm not putting that. I'm dead serious. We'll start over.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still recording.
Well, that's fine, but I have final edit because I post these, so. Welcome back to another episode of Lunchtime, everyone. I'm Noah Hiles.
John Bozeka.
And we're in the midst of a fight right now. We're actually eating lunch. I'm someone who doesn't like the noise of people chewing their food. And as I say that, John looks me dead in the eyes.
That's why you chew away from the microphone, though.
Well, I didn't know you were recording. John had the mics on. John does this all the time. He tries to get like a raw intro.
You said you like it.
I do like it, but I don't like, not when I'm chewing my salad. So it's for today's show. We'll be talking All-Star games. One in particularly the Pro Bowl, which, depending on where I cut out the beginning of our raw edit, I will be at the Pro Bowl this weekend in Orlando, Florida, with my sister. Big thanks to her. She got the two of us tickets for it, and a little bit of short notice, but found a nice, cheap round-trip flight. I'll be flying out there Saturday night, coming back here Monday, and it should be a very fun experience for me. So, John, before we get into this, have you ever been to a professional sports all-star game?
I have not.
No?
I've never been to an all-star game. I've obviously been in a couple of cities when they've been close to having them. Like, I remember going to Columbus when they were, about to host the NHL All-Star Game, and then last summer I remember being in Cleveland prior to the All-Star Game and All-Star Weekend. They did a lot last year.
That was I covered it. I covered it for my former employer in Pittsburgh, and Cleveland did an excellent job hosting the All-Star game. There was a lot of activities. I mean, the concerts before everything got started, I thought the city was very clean and accessible, easy to park, a lot going on. It was a good, fun time for all.
Trying to say Cleveland's not clean.
No, I'm saying that it was incredibly clean. Like, sometimes cities host it and they don't do a good job of, anticipating how many people are going to be there, and it is dirty and it's not great.
No,
Cleveland.
I'm messing with you.
Yeah, Cleveland did a great job. I went to one other All-Star weekend. I went to the All-Star game in Miami. Well, I had tickets to it. I ended up in the hospital that day with food poisoning. So I was supposed to sit in my friend, who was an intern at an accounting firm in Miami, in their private suite, and I unfortunately missed the game. So we went to the Futures game.
Yeah,
the
you
day
were
before.
clearly incapacitated at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the hospital. It was bad.
Yeah.
So
I've heard food poisoning will get you every time.
it will, 100%. Anyway, so let's get into it. John, your thoughts on the Pro Bowl originally and All-Star games in general. Are they good? They bad? What are your thoughts?
I think it just kind of depends, because I think it's kind of frustrating that you have gotten to a point now where you have guys that will be elected to a Pro Bowl or elected to an All-Star game, and then they sit out. And to me, it's like the same thing as like your team gets to a bowl game and like you sit out because it's like a meaningless bowl.
Well, but I think it's a little different.
To me, no, it's about the same thing, because really it's just like one last game to like showcase things. Like, I mean, that's really all it is. I mean, I know that they don't tackle it full in the Pro Bowl and that it's kind of become like a farce of itself, but I really don't think much of it. I don't. Like, I'm not going to sit and watch it. I don't care to watch it. I might watch the NBA All-Star game, but that's probably the only one of the three. Like, I won't even watch baseball. Like, I might tune in to watch, like, the last couple innings of it, because something interesting always happens, like, in innings 7, 8, and 9, no matter the year. But otherwise, I'm not a big All-Star game person. There's something about it. It doesn't seem like everyone is always trying their hardest, and that bothers me.
See, the All-Star, first, to go on your point, I think it's a little different when an athlete sits out the bowl game, knowing that if I get hurt, I could lose millions of dollars in the draft. Not that I necessarily agree or disagree with it, where these Pro Bowl guys, they're just like, most of the time when a guy sits out the Pro Bowl, it's like, I've been here like 5 times already. I don't need to do this. I just want to enjoy it. My season just came to an end in the playoffs. I just want to enjoy my house. But nonetheless, I get the overall sentiment.
There used to be like pride, though, in it.
Yes, and an appreciation that you were awarded this honor. And I think that as far as the NFL Pro Bowl goes, it hasn't been the same since it left Hawaii. I think when we were kids, people actually really did try. Like, I remember Ed Reed laying out a punter. Or no, Sean Taylor did that. Sean Taylor absolutely laid out a punter in the Pro Bowl. Drew Brees got hurt. I mean, that was the last time we saw Michael Vick play a football game in like 4 years, in like a 4-year span, because he went to jail that following offseason. And I think he knew that because he balled out that game. There were times, I mean, the Pro Bowl was fun growing up. It's not fun anymore. I'm looking forward to it, obviously, this year because I'm going to be there. And they're trying out some new rules with the kickoff. There is no kickoffs. You can either elect to take the ball on your own 25 or attempt a 4th and 15 from your opponent's 25, which is the equivalent of an onside kick, they say. So I watched it a little last year. I like the guys playing both ways and trying to make it fun. But as far as all-star games altogether, I think the baseball all-star game is hands down the highest quality. The guys are putting forth the best effort. Sometimes pitchers will hang a pitch every now and then, but I think everyone is really giving their all in those games, even though it doesn't count for anything anymore. I think you're seeing the best the game has to offer put their best effort forward in that game.
See, and I think you bring up an interesting point there, Noah, because I think it would make viewing them a lot better if something was on the line every year. Like if they did the NBA All-Star game to a point of where no matter who ends up in the finals, like that team gets home court advantage.
That was the case for baseball.
Like it would change a lot of things, just like it changed things for baseball. Because I personally felt the year that the Indians lost to the Cubs, it helped them that they had home field until they got to Game 7, because then they kind of, crapped it away. But still, like it does have an effect. Like in the NBA, probably more than anything, having covered so many playoff games, home court in the NBA means like everything. Like teams play awful on the road, and they are a different team at home. That was the case with the 2016 Cavs, and it's been the case with most teams that I've watched in the NBA. So if you did that, it would raise the level of play.
I don't know how you really do that for football, though, considering I think anytime you have an all-star game that's at the end of the year, people are bound to care less, and especially that they moved it to before the Super Bowl. It used to be after the Super Bowl, and it used to be kind of a reward and a vacation. Like, oh, we got in for the fans. It's like, oh, we get one more week of football. But now, I mean, you're having a Pro Bowl without Pat Mahomes, without Travis Kelce, and without Nick Bosa, all these Richard Sherman, all these exciting players, and without even the guys backing off for personal reasons, recovering from health, whatever that might be. I mean, you have all these guys who aren't even able to play in it, and everyone else is thinking already about the Super Bowl. No one should care about this when there's a bigger game coming up next week.
Well, and that's why maybe you do move it again to after the Super Bowl.
I think that's the best move.
It changes things, and I think you go 2 weeks. You give 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, because for players that are celebrating the Super Bowl, because, I mean, like let's say the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and then you had it after the Super Bowl. Like Mahomes and Kelce are going to be drunk still the weekend after that, celebrating.
As they should be.
So it's like, if you're at that point, it's the same thing for like Bosa and Sherman. Like they're going to be celebrating because, people are going to want you left and right. So if you did it 2 weeks later, it would give those guys a chance to recover a bit, which would help. And it would also mean that they probably wouldn't be playing intoxicated, which would also be a big help.
I actually kind of hope they would be playing intoxicated.
Really?
I'm sure someone has played intoxicated at like the Pro Bowl or something. Had a couple Mai Tais or Hurricanes. Why wouldn't you?
I mean, I guess
Pat McAfee was a 2-time Pro Bowler. You're telling me that guy? Yeah.
No, he didn't just play. He didn't just play intoxicated. That dude probably played high.
Yeah, that's the guy though. All right, so to wrap this up, I guess a wider question is: we talked about the All-Star games, but what about the All-Star weekends? Which one's your favorite out of the big three? Or we'll even throw hockey in there, even though I'm sure you've never watched an NHL All-Star game weekend or All-Star game
Stuff
once.
Means nothing to me around here.
Because that's probably the most entertaining if you're a fan of all four sports.
Yeah,
Hockey
I mean, I would guess that's probably true. I still enjoy the NBA All-Star weekend because I grew up like an NBA kid. Like I really did. Like my dad was a big NBA fan. And like, even though we also watched the NFL a lot, like we never really watched the Pro Bowl. We watched a ton of NFL regular season games.
Yes,
but
not many postseason games because you're a Browns fan.
Yeah, but we made a point too of watching like the All-Star weekend. Like
Vince Carter, elbow through the rim.
We would carve out a weekend. Like my mom, my dad, my brother, myself, we would sit on the couch and like before it would happen, we would be like, I think Kyrie's going to take home like the 3-point game this year. I think that, I remember who was the guy? Jason Richardson was like a fiend in the dunking contest.
A menace.
Yeah, a menace, if you will. So, the NBA All-Star Weekend, far and away, gets that vote to me.
I will say I agree that the weekend itself, NBA, because of the celebrities there,
Yep.
I think NBA is most ingrained in American culture. Where football is America's favorite sport, but celebrities show up to the NBA stuff more. Because it's a better viewing experience. You're right on the floor most of the time, and two, it's indoors. So you don't have to be cold for the big football games.
Plus,
which are
it's
normally,
the NBA, and like, there's a lot of fun.
It's pageantry. It's all of that. And yes, the skill contests, the dunk contests we watched growing up. Dwight Howard versus Nate Robinson, a 5'9" versus a 7'2" guy. I mean, those were the best. I remember watching Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine in college.
See, I kind of stopped watching at that point.
That was my argument. Is the big names in the dunk contest have seemingly vanished, which has made it a little less interesting. That, and I think we've just seen pretty much every good dunk by now. You just need to make it a show. But that dunk contest, I remember it was Valentine's Day weekend, and my friend was going through a breakup. So I was like, you know what, buddy, let's watch the NBA dunk contest. And that was to me the best dunk contest of all time as far as quality of dunks. And it wasn't two big names. It wasn't MJ versus Dominique Wilkins or Spud Webb or whoever else.
I think it's hard to beat those, though.
But those dunks were the most insane dunks I've ever seen. So I'll say NBA weekend, hands down. But I think the home run derby is the most enjoyable event. And obviously that's just because I'm a baseball guy.
No,
but
I would agree with that.
And you talked about appointment television. I never missed a home run derby with my family growing up. Even the years when they had Jason Bay for the Pirates in it and he hit 0, a big old goose egg, the only time my favorite team's player was represented and he went 0 home runs. I remember, Josh Hamilton putting on a show at Yankee Stadium.
I remember Jose Abreu, right?
Bobby Abreu.
In
Detroit.
Who am I thinking? Jose Abreu.
Jose Abreu plays for the White Sox.
That's right.
Last year's home run derby was the best one of all time. I mean, the double overtime swing off was incredible.
I was thinking, too, that I think part of the reason you mentioned that you had a Pittsburgh Pirate in the home run derby, and, that obviously garnered a reason for you to watch it, but, the NBA All-Star Weekend during, my formative years of sports, we had LeBron.
Yeah.
So, there was always a reason to watch, because, even if you didn't love LeBron, it was still,
he was the star. He was
that's
the show.
Our guy.
Yeah.
That's 44. That's my boy.
That's my boy. That's Booby.
Booby Miles. But, it was there was an excitement level because being a Clevelander, it's we took pride in the fact that, Bron was ours. And, if he was here, we still would.
Nonetheless, I'm still a very big All-Star game weekend. I think it's great for the game. I wish football did theirs a little differently, but I'm still excited to go and watch it in person. So that's our thoughts on the All-Star weekends. Oh, also a little shout out to hockey. Like I said, hockey, if you're a hockey fan, hockey is by far the most interesting All-Star weekend. They do a tournament for their All-Star game, which is unique. And it's less people on the ice. I believe they do 3-on-3 or 4-on-4. So the game's a lot faster. There's a lot more goals scored. It's very entertaining.
I can see myself enjoying that.
Yeah, it's like backyard. It's literally like backyard sports, like the video games as a kid.
I mean, last year was the first time that I've ever sat and watched a lot of NHL postseason. I think it was probably because the Blue Jackets were doing well, but I remember kind of getting into it, but because it's never really been a big thing around here. In Pittsburgh,
it's huge.
It's huge.
It's our NBA.
Yeah, you had Lemieux, and then now you have Sid the Kid. And,
yeah.
You've always had somebody to represent you. Mm-hmm. Around here, it's what? I'm going to watch the Monsters?
Watch St. Ignatius?
No chance. That's not going to happen.
All right. Let's go eat lunch.
Yep.